Morning, y'all. So today I'm going to talk my top 5 buying a driver tips. What should you be thinking about when buying one of these?
Brian Little.
So let's start with looks and sound. I'm going to start here because I think it's sometimes something that lots of golfers don't have the confidence to believe that it's even an aspect of the buying process, and it has to be. For choosing a driver for me, all through my life, it would never be about trying every driver. It'd be choosing one I like the look, the sound, then in turn the feel of, and then trying that one maybe against one or two others that I also quite like the look and sound and feel of. If you think about the driver I use, so this is the TS2, I use the TS3. It's a different shape to this one, that's why I use it over this one. Sound was very similar, so that wasn't something that would come in it to this one. The look of it, so the shape of how much roll and bulge appears on the clubs, to the colour, to the way it sits on the ground, to the actual shape of the head. And that would apply to if I'm buying a Ping, a TaylorMade, Callaway, Cobra, Strixon, anything, Mizuno, whatever. It's gonna be that look and sound that really wanna kind of sell it into me originally. And that'll be a case of seeing someone else hitting them, picking them up in a pro shop, having a few looks, maybe having a quick go on my own as well. If you've got a demo, just having a few goes on my own before I then go for my fitting, just hitting some in a net, down a range, even if they allow you to take it out on the course. But I'm not gonna buy there and then, I just wanna see if I do like the look and sound of it, and then I wanna go and get some numbers and test for it. The looks and sound are as important as anything else. You've got to play with this club for 2-3 years, maybe 10 years, whatever. You know, they're not cheap. You've got to like looking down at it and wanting to game that golf club. Those kind of ideas then can continue into your fit, but then you're going to be thinking about things like launches and spins. Let's have a think about that. It's a bit of a craze for lots of people and certainly manufacturers to go a little low in the spin. So when it comes to thinking about spin characteristics with your driver, you've got to work with your fitter and you'll have your perceptions, but go with their lead if they're a good experienced fitter. Give you an example here. I've got the Epic Flash bit in the Sub-Zero, and this can apply to all manufacturers. F9 weight at the front, same ideas. Titleist TS3, the lower spinning, slightly out of the two. Ping G400 in the LS Tech. I know this isn't one, but they make an LS Tech as well. I see a lot of purchasers, golfers, people online, people coming into shops, thinking that they spin their driver a lot, so they want to go the low spin option. The general rule with the low spin options in all these clubs is you're going to lose a little bit of stability, you're going to lose some MOI qualities, and you're going to save around 3, max I've seen 500 revs. The general rule of thumb, the people who tend to spin the ball a lot, they're spinning it by 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 revs too much. None of these clubs are going to reduce spin that much. If you want to really work on dialing in launch and spins, yes, these clubs can fine tune, but they're not going to rip 1,000 or 2,000 revs a minute away from your drives, giving you some better launch or some better carries through the air. Where for most golfers, you give them the most stability that you can get your hands on. You won't get the ball falling out the air as much. You will get a little bit more stability on their flights, which then in turn will give them the best numbers. What I found when I use lower spin drivers, because I'm falling into this trap as well myself, is that yes, they give me my longest numbers. So launch monitor numbers are the longest. Averages can go up. So what I find when I actually go out and play with them on a golf course is over a bigger data set, my averages drop way down because the mishits just fall out the air, the stability isn't there in the flight. So yes, I get the knuckleball that goes further than any other shot, and I outdrive the odd person. I think, oh, that's funny and that's all great. But so many other times I'm 40, 30 yards back of where I think I should be, subject to the strike I've hit, because the spin's dropping off, or the ball falls out the air. And then the reality of that seduction of the launch monitor numbers disappears very quickly. Rule of thumb, most golfers, trying to rip spin off through heads, a little bit dangerous more than it helps. Not saying that low spin drivers don't have a place, they absolutely do. For some they're fantastic, but generally for your average golfer, be very careful being seduced by those long balls on the launch monitor. Can I hit the shots I need to hit to play golf? For me, when I'm hitting my TS3 Titleist driver, the one I game, I need to be able to know that I can draw it when I want to, fade it when I want to, possibly hit a straight one. Now this not might apply to everyone, because you might not be someone who naturally can shape the ball, but it's more to do with the fact that did not come out the middle. That I can do what I want to do with it when I'm on the course, away from this very false fitting environment. On a range in an indoor studio, I've seen it time and time again. Students tend to get a little bit, I see it in reviews, I see people just trying to send it as far as they can. Like, how far can this driver go? And then you get out on the golf course, and I used to see this with lessons time and time again, it's just not how they play or hit that club on the course. For me, I want to know if there's a chance or a hole where I have to hit a bit of a draw on it, can the club I want to use do that? And I know it can do it. But the big question for me is, when I look down at it, the way it sits, the looks, the sounds, the colours, all those other aspects, do they make me feel like I can do that shape, hit that shot? And there'll be plenty of occasions where I need to stand at the left and try and cut it back in, as well as try and hit the straight one. Driver I'm gaming has to give me the confidence to make those shots. And for you, don't get bogged down in thinking, oh, I don't draw or fade it, I just hit one shot. Okay, that's good, but when you do hit it hard, does it cut more or less? When you play a safer one, does it draw or does it do the shape that you're used to seeing on the course? When you're getting fit, when you're trying clubs, game them. Don't turn it into this egotistic, how far can you hit it, online, forum, YouTube video craziness that I see out there. Game the club. What about changeable, movable weights? For me personally, I wouldn't want any of my students buying a driver because the weight can be moved or changed. Every manufacturer, I mean even Ping now make a changeable weight one, but before they did, makes a variation of heads to cover all bases, low spin, anti-right shots, not that that's really going to stop you. Same anti-right shots, you know, like your ones that go more draw biased, they're going to do the same. Think about the spin comments that I made on low spin, it's the same kind of premise with that really. And even though that the changeable weights are really being sold into the user, I personally think the changeable weight market is much more to do with the fitter. It gives them more options. All the changeable weight ideas and necks that come on clubs, I hate it when I got students who really dabble in that. I see them go round and round in circles. If they want to make a change, I like them to come back to me and we try and work through why they want that change together. Is it the club or is it actually something that they're doing in their swing? The other thing as well, those changeable elements to the club have really come into place because it actually helps the tall fitters who need to change a lie, a loft, a weight placement on a head almost instantly with clicks, so that player can then go out and play with it rather than having to glue things, bend things, you know, maneuver things. It gives them a higher tolerance and a higher fitting ability. The changeable weight, should I buy changeable weight technology if that's what we're calling it or not? For me, it's about the fitting process than it is you dabbling with it once you've got it fit already. Changeable weights for the manufacturers and the fitters. For me, not so much the buyer. What about shelf life? Is shelf life something you would think about when buying a new driver? So some clubs will have a longer shelf life than others. Some brands carry more weight when it comes to the resale. Now resale is something I would never think about when I used to buy a driver. I'd get the best one for me. But I use the term buying a driver loosely because I've never really bought a driver, because I've always won money to buy them as such, and not my hard-earned cash. And then obviously as a pro, I was always given drivers and had demo ones and ones to use. So I've never really bought one. But I remember when I was fitting lots, people would ask me, you know, is there a resale value for this? What, you know, they would also have ideas of which brands will keep their money more, obviously subject to how quickly they re-release different new models and the model they're getting, because sometimes if you're not buying a flagship model, then the price might drop off much quicker. Me personally, I wouldn't use this as a buying premise, but as I've said before, I'm not really spending my money on it. So if you're someone who is a bit of a driver changer, that might be something that's kind of important to you. And the brands generally that tend to hold their price a bit more, as a general rule, Ping, Titleist, Callaway do quite well, and TaylorMade to a certain extent. Those two obviously at the end there, bear in mind they can release clubs quite quickly, but then your lesser brands, you really see massive drop-offs when it comes to trading value because they're just not as desirable. There we go, let me know what you think. There's my top 5. I've got some little footnotes, some noticeable mentions. So price, obviously key, but the price is so relative to whoever's watching this video. You know, one person's expensive is another person's cheap. So the price needs to relate to you personally, but keep it within your budget. Then brand will play its part. You'll have certain brand alliances. And remember, like I said earlier, each brand does tend to make every version of the driver, certainly in the top ones, if you want the low spin, the keep left one, or the medium range friendly one. So brand definitely is something, if you're into your brands, you know, they all make good drivers these days. And this is a really big one for me, certainly as a pro, certainly someone who used to work in pro shops. The amount of people that I would see coming with drivers from eBay, they're fakes, the ferrule's loose, from some dodgy site where it was £100 cheaper. Let me put it out there, if you're buying a brand new driver and it's £100 cheaper than the recommended retails or the going price, that is a fake. Just that there's nothing cheaper there. The prices are not controlled in the UK because it's illegal, but they are controlled to a certain extent. They're fakes, the £100 cheaper ones. And then where you buy will give you the quality of service you get, from the quality of fittings you get, the quality of returns if something does go wrong with it. For me, where you buy it would be a key part of the process to making sure you're getting the best driver and then service and after service for you as a golfer. You're certainly going to get some of your best fittings from PGA pros, from pros who are dedicated to fitting and coaching, in my opinion. Post comments down below, let me know what you think. Have I missed any out? What's the most important aspect for you when it comes to buying a driver? Hit that comment section up down below. Would you change them around? Would you put some of the footnotes in as the main points? Again, let me know. These are just some of my opinions of what I've seen over years of watching people buy drivers, selling drivers for years when I worked in shops, and coaching people who ask me for advice on what driver they should get. These are some of the points I would point out for them when they're looking for the best club for their game. In that comment section down below, as always. Sorry to say I'm not playing in the Sunningdale Foursomes with Dan this week, which we should have been going there today. Anyone who's on Twitter would know this because I posted earlier. Dan has man flu. Serious case of man flu. So my only competitive round for I don't know how long has gone. Never mind, eh?